This little video is going to be about how to figure out what the will of God is for your life. A lot of young adults really struggle with this. I know I did when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And the thing that concerns me is that a lot of times in this culture in North America, people will tell you it doesn't really matter what you do with your life as long as you are doing something that honors God, or, just choose a career that, whatever. They just tell you basically it doesn't matter. And God isn't really interested in that. And I believed that when I was growing up. I thought it didn't really matter who I married as long as I married somebody who was a Christian and shared the same beliefs as me. That was really all that was important. And basically, God isn't interested in the details of your life. He's busy doing really important things, and what you want to do with your career isn't really important. And I struggled with it. And I know that a lot of young people today do too. And I found out through the Lord clearly speaking and clearly leading my husband and I through a Bible verse, bringing that verse again and again, that He really is interested in the details of our lives. He loves us. And it's just like saying, as a parent, well, I don't really care who you marry, kid. Just marry whoever you want, make sure they're a Christian, and I'll be happy. No, I do. I care about who my children are going to choose to marry. I care about what kind of a career my child is going to choose. I have a couple of kids coming up towards graduation, and I really want them to not just choose a career because it's going to make money. Oh, great job, kid. That's going to make you a lot of money. Do that. Oh, no, don't do that. Even though you're passionate about it and you totally love it, not enough money in that career, don't do it. No, I want my child to be really happy in what they do, to be satisfied, to be doing what they were created to do. So I was really excited when I found a post about this on February 27th in the devotional that I read with my kids, Mountain Trailways for Youth, by Mrs. Charles E. Cowman. And this is exactly what young people need to hear today. I found out that God is interested. He does care. And we can find out what His will is. I was discouraged a few years ago when I was at a church, and a lady who was married to an elder said, "Oh, I can't tell you how many kids have come to my husband because he's an elder and asked, how do I know the will of God for my life? And I can't tell you how many times my husband's just had to say to them, God isn't really interested," essentially. And I just thought that was terrible, because God is interested. And I love this post, and I hope that a lot of you find it helpful. I'm so glad that it's not true that God's not really interested in the details of your life, because He's interested not only in the details, the big things, but in the small things. He's interested in how your day went. What was hard for you today? What was great about your day? What are your hopes and dreams? He put these things in us, and He wants us to become who He intended us to become. He gifts us. He wants us to use those gifts. He has great purposes and plans and dreams for us. And we can choose to walk in those things, or we can choose to settle. And He'll let us settle. God isn't going to interfere and say no, and slam doors closed. Sometimes I think He does try to guide and direct by closing doors and opening other doors. But I believe there's a lot of people who are too afraid to walk through the doors that the Lord is opening for them because it's too scary. I'm so glad that I'm married to a man who has chosen a really scary career as an artist, a sculptor. He has chosen for the past 21 years to support our family of 7 as an artist, never knowing where the next money is coming from. And that has been exciting. Lots of times we haven't known where the next job is coming from. And I believe it totally honors the Lord when we trust him and we choose to walk in the giftings and we choose to trust God that he's going to provide. We choose to continually ask him and we allow his hand to provide for us. I also think that we can choose to provide for ourselves, or we can choose to trust and ask the Lord to provide for us. And a lot of times it's kind of one or the other. Faith doesn't have a backup. And we have certainly seen when we have chosen God instead of credit, we've seen him come through. And I believe it honors him when we put all of our trust in him. We've had times where we didn't know who we should hire. Should we ask the Lord to provide an employee? And he has. There was this one time where we were considering hiring somebody that is in my family, and that could go wrong what if he's not a very good employee and he's in my family, and that will cause a problem. And so we decided that we would pray about it and we would ask the Lord to bring the right person. And if it was this guy, that he would be really clear, but we decided not to go ahead until we were sure. It turned out within a day or two of that prayer, we got a knock on our door, and somebody very unexpected, actually my childhood best friend's father, knocked on our door. We thought he was running his own heavy equipment business, but he knocked and he asked for my husband, and he said, "Could I just talk to you about hiring me? I've taken a sculpting class and I'm wondering if you would consider hiring me. I would love to work for you." And it was such an out of the blue, crazy situation. And we ended up hiring him instead of the family member that we had been considering. And you know, that was one of our best employees that we ever had. He worked for us for a number of years, and he had run his own business, so he was very conscientious. He was a very out-of-the-box thinker. He was just an incredible employee, and that was from the Lord. So, does God care about who we hire? Yeah, he does. He cares about all kinds of things. So when I found this message in Mountain Trailways for Youth, I really wanted to share it with you. It's called How to Ascertain the Will of God. And if this is helpful to you, please tell me about it. I would love to hear if this has blessed somebody. "Wherefore, be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is." That's Ephesians 5:17. Number 1, surrender your own will. I seek at the beginning to get my heart into such a state that it has no will of its own in regard to a given matter. 9/10 of the difficulties are overcome when our hearts are ready to do the Lord's will, whatever it may be. When one is truly in this state, it is usually but a little way to the knowledge of what his will is. Number 2, do not depend on feelings. Having done this, I do not leave the result to feeling or simple impression. If I do, I make myself liable to great delusions. This is kind of the opposite of what Hollywood is telling us. Number 3, seek the Spirit's will through God's Word. I seek the will of the Spirit of God through or in connection with the will of God. The Spirit and the Word must be combined. If I look to the Spirit alone without the Word, I lay myself open to great delusions also. If the Holy Ghost guides us at all, he will do it according to the Scriptures and never contrary to them. Number 4, note providential circumstances. Next, I take into account providential circumstances. These often plainly indicate God's will in connection with his Word and Spirit. Providence is when you look back and you can see God's hand in something, or it seems to be really coincidental. but you realize this is no coincidence. This situation has happened, and God has allowed it to come about this way. Number 5, pray. I ask God in prayer to reveal his will to me aright. I would maybe put that one at number 1, but it's definitely in the list before they make the decision. Number 6, I don't like this one. Wait. Thus, through prayer to God, the study of the Word, and reflection, I come to a deliberate judgment according to the best of my ability and knowledge. And if my mind is thus at peace, and continues so after 2 or 3 more petitions, I proceed accordingly. In trivial matters, and in transactions involving most important issues, I have found this method always effective. And who's the writer of that? One of my favorites, George Muller. I affectionately call him Uncle George because I just love him so much. He is the orphanage guy that prayed, and something like $1 million went through his hands. He was very good at recording amounts of things and how things were spent and things like that, and he kept accounts, and it was something like $1 million way back 100 years ago, so that's a lot more money than it is today. So he saw answers to prayer, small answers, big answers, incredible answers. So he knows what he's talking about. And I love that he says, in trivial matters and in transactions involving most important issues. So according to George Muller, who knows what he's talking about, we can ask God for trivial things and most important matters for his will. What is the will of God? So if somebody is telling you that it doesn't really matter, you can just do whatever and God's not interested, well, I would not take them as the authority, because we have a God who wants to know about the details of our lives, and he cares. He has a plan for us. Sometimes he opens it up. I have a very good friend that I've just met a few months ago, and she was talking about a time in her life when she was doing exactly this, and she asked God to reveal his will, and she decided she would not study for any of her exams. I should get her to tell you the story. And she decided to just take the exams, and whichever one she did really well in, that was the direction. And because she is from Poland, the exams were kind of leading into different careers. So instead of studying for these different careers, she decided not to study for any careers, and she just prayed and said, God, can you make it clear to me which one I should do, which career path I should take? And she did very well in every exam without studying for them. Now, I don't know. I don't know all the answers, you know that. I just know that God has worked in big ways and small ways in my life. And I believe he's interested in all the details, because he's shown himself interested in lots of little details in my life and big details. So I would say in that situation, maybe the Lord was saying, go ahead. You choose whatever, wherever you're most interested, go ahead in that one. I give you my blessing. And I've gifted you in many different areas, and you can choose any of these things. And I don't know. That's my interpretation of it. So as I say, I don't know all the answers, but I believe that it honors God when she asked and said, which one I want you to lead me. And I still think it honored God, even though he's not super clear. As I keep on saying, he's not the vending machine in the sky. We can't control him. But it honors him when we seek him. And I love this. How to ascertain the will of God. Let me know how it goes for you. Look forward to hearing your stories.